Gospel also travels by air and the internet. Messages of hope are shared 24/7 through television programs produced in 3 languages and through broadcast by more than 90 radio stations. The Inter-American Division is this and more. Every day, our church works to preach the gospel to more than 307 million residents across its territory.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Defining Your Health. I'm your host, Tracy Lewis. And I just have to say that it's been a pleasure being back here at ATN. I've been missing for a while, but I'm so happy to be back. This morning, we have an amazing topic, one that we're all familiar with, of course, but we never really got into it, the psychological effects and the real deal, right? So this morning, we want to talk about the effects of social media. And with us, we have Sister Aislinn Murillo. All right. She's a guidance counselor and a life coach, and her face is familiar. We've seen her in so many different capacities here at ATN, right? So she's no stranger. And so I want you guys to sit back and enjoy this episode, right? This is for everybody. You know, when we talk about social media, Sister Aislinn, who are the users? Who uses social media?
Every single body. From a toddler coming all the way up to your granny and your grandpa.
That's true. That's so true.
Every single body.
And we'll touch all of these users this morning. So I want you to stay with us on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you're watching from. Thank you for joining us, Sister Aislinn. When we talk about social media, we have positives and we have dangers.
Right.
We want to start with some of the dangers, and then we can end off on a positive note. But there's this whole idea that social media is dangerous because you spend so much time on it and different things. But there's a word that we're looking for that sums up the danger in social media. What's that word?
Addiction.
Correct.
Addiction.
And so I want you to just maybe walk us through what addiction is and how is addiction and social media even related?
Okay. So, addiction, first, the definition of addiction means enslaved by or bound to. You know what it is to be enslaved to something or bound to something? And that is where it can be very dangerous. Now, what happens inside the brain when we become addicted to something is that first, we're using this part of our brain, which is the frontal part, where it deals with prayer and thinking and your logical, and making rational decisions. And that is the part that gets affected when we become addicted to something. There's this small gland in your brain that called amygdala, and that is where it remembers stimuli. If there's a feeling, it remembers the feeling. So if somebody pinched you, you'll remember that, and so that you could avoid it fear. So it just remembers that memory from that stimuli, that experience, that you encounter. Now there's the hippocampus on the others right nearby that is that focus on storing that memory. So it stores the memory from the amygdala to remember it. And so then there's this thing called the endorphins, which are dopamines, dopamines, which are chemicals released from there, which is that rewarding hormone which gives pleasure, right? So you receive something, you get excited. So that is how, so the amygdala takes the picture and the hippocampus stores it. And so when you are given something, you remember it, and then it's been stored so that you always want to receive it. Now, when it comes to the social media, what happened is it's not like food that you get and you eat it and you said, it's how you do it. You will say, I had a long day, so because I had a long day, I deserve something.
Yes.
So you go for the chocolate over the banana. So
true.
for us, we had a long day, so what we do, take a nice shower, lay down, and we pull out our phone and we said,
time to watch a movie
or time to watch a movie.
Clearly, I'm thinking about time to watch a movie. Of course, TikTok and streaming.
Right. That's the new trend right now, TikTok. Everybody and their granny have TikTok.
Right.
Even I see some of my aunts and my uncle, they're flipping through TikTok, sending you TikTok.
They're making videos.
And they're making videos.
Never been in a TikTok. I'm late to this game. I have to do one. And they're on TikTok doing things and dancing. And I'm here like, I just made an account. So
I just made an account to look at the TikToks. I don't do anything up there. But it becomes a reward. It's how you do it that becomes a reward. And what happened, our brain starts to, you know, when you're full in a bucket, the bucket overflows. And it's when the dopamine inside our brain starts to overflow, you get a bum rush of reward. So it's like instant gratification.
Right.
And so every time you come to this social media, you get that instant gratification. And you know, it's like, you know, when time you say, oh, I'll only take a drink, and you become an occasional drinker. And then you become until you become addicted and become right. And you go through that same process, and it's the same process with our phones or social media. We want that instant gratification. We say, only this time, we'll spend just this moment, right? Just a couple minutes, and then it starts to become 2 days.
And you can't,
and then you come more, and then the 1 hour becomes 2 hours, and then it's become something daily.
Daily, nightly, you don't even go to sleep. You start watching a show and it's one episode after the other. You don't even realize it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but you want to see one more because it ends this way and I have to see what happens in this next episode. You know, like, what would you tell people who say, well, I don't stay up that late and to watch episodes. You know, I'm not addicted. I could stop when I want. Like, how do you respond to somebody like that?
Actually, it won't be that you can stop when you want. Because what these content creators is doing is to give you what is it that you want. It creates the image because people don't know it, but when you like music and when you hear music, what happens? Your body starts to move. If you don't know, images stores memories, and memories have songs. Like, for example, I was doing the same exact presentation on camp, and I had a partner that I did the presentation with, and I was talking to him. I said, do you want us to have a PowerPoint presentation, or you want us to go to the shop paper? And he was like, shop paper? And then afterwards, he laughed, and then I said, image has a song. Image has a song. He said, what do you mean? I said, when I said shop paper, it took you back to your primary school days where your teacher used to pull out those shop papers and flipping them because and so he was like, wow, I hate your job. And I was like, and I love it.
But you said something so important and powerful that we don't realize all the time, and which is why we're kind of lax with the concept that we do get addicted to these images. You said that images has sounds, and some sound has this incredible ability to become a part of your memory, to help you to remember. And so what we're doing when we're watching these images, we're listening to these songs, they're creating memories that are taking up spaces in our brains. I can tell you, it's a little testimony. I was watching this show, and you know, it had like about 8 seasons, and I just loved it. I had to keep watching it. And when I wake up in the morning, after the few hours that I slept, I'm hearing the songs, like images are in my mind with the main characters, and I'm wondering, and I'm replaying, but what if this had happened? Like, it becomes a whole new world. And I said, no, man, I have to stop this. This is a crazy people business. You know, I'm hearing the song that played the night before when I watched it. That's a song that I wake up to. And I'm like, this is insane.
But have you ever after watching a show went outside and realized that somebody looked like the person inside a film?
That's when I knew I deleted the app, because it was one of the apps that you shouldn't have, because you'd watch the movie for free. You shouldn't have the app in the first, and I had to just delete that, because I said, this is going too far. I want to get up in the morning, do my devotion, have my songs and singing, and I have a different song in my head. So it is it's powerful, and anything that is powerful to that extent is just kind of dangerous. You know, I was reading for this presentation in 2005, when social media just started to become a thing, about 5% of American users were online. Now it's 75% of worldwide somebody has a social media account, and for teenagers it's like 90%. So almost everybody is online right now. So we have to be responsible in the way that we use social media.
You know, when I was doing this presentation, me and my the guy that I did the presentation with, we did this activity with the young people.
Okay.
And we were like, okay, guys, take your hands and put it on your laps. Now, just sit there for 2 minutes. And I put the timer on, and I kid you not, there was one of the young men sitting there. He started to chew. He was like, I'm like, there is nothing in his mouth. Why is he chewing? And so me and the guy that is doing the presentation, we started to laugh, because why is he chewing?
You can't even be still.
Then there was another one that started to bop his head. He was hearing music, and then the other one tapping his feet, and then the other one and you would not believe, I paused that video at 20 seconds.
Wow, you didn't even reach 2 minutes.
I did not even reach a minute. And that's because they started at 10 seconds. The guy that started to chew, he was at 10 seconds.
He started to chew. Wow.
So we cannot even keep still, and I say we because it's all of us.
Yeah.
We cannot even keep still because of this addiction that is starting to plague us. And you know, before there's this diagnostic book, the DSM-5, and there's additions to it. Social media and gaming was never a part of it, but now as a disorder. But now, gaming and social media they're adding it in as a disorder.
Yeah. And I think it brings the question, like, how far do we go, as adults, as teenagers, to make sure that we have access to social media? Because that's an indication of the extent to which we're addicted or not. I mean, like, that experiment that you just mentioned proves so much in where we're lacking. We can't even be still. We can't be silent. How is God supposed to speak to us in this stage of our spirituality? We cannot even be still. What are we teaching our children? If it's hard for us as adults, how can your child be still to hear God's voice, to see Him outside? They're not even outside anymore.
Right.
It's so serious,
Like I told the kids, I said, our heads are bowed, but we're not praying.
That's right.
Because it's this that we're in. And then I also told them, I said, imagine we're scrolling on TikTok, and we're on social media, and we're looking at these celebrities and these other people, and we're like, man, it's this world. This is what I want to experience. So instead of us trying to get to a place where we can go and have that type of vacation, we go and watch somebody else vacation.
We live vicariously through that person's character.
Right. And so now this world that we're living in, it's becoming the virtual world. So it's in reverse. So it's in reverse. So the virtual world is now classified as the real world. What happened on social media is what is the real thing. And I said that because I could remember teaching life skills at school. And there was this student that raised his hand. I don't remember I can't remember what topic specifically we were talking about. But he said, Miss, I don't like girls. I said, excuse me? So I instantly started to become very curious as what this child is saying. He said, no, don't get me wrong. I am not talking that I like boys. I love women. I just like the one that I get to create.
Oh, excuse me.
He says, so the one like you standing in front of me, that's not what I desire. On my game, I get to create my wife. He said, I have a wife. I am married. In my game world, I am married. I have my wife. I can fix her how I want. If I want her to have more boobs or more, but I can give her that. And then I get to create her, and we can be intimate up there too. So he said, that's the type of, that's my, I already have a wife. I don't need to worry about physical one. I was like blown. I went to my desk confused.
And you mentioned something so key, because that's the reality for so many people right now, and especially our young people. We don't have patience anymore. We don't have real social skills, because it's not that we're confused about the virtual world versus the real world. We don't want to be a part of the real world anymore, because we're so free, we're so lawless in this virtual world that we're creating, you know, and that's scary for me, because how is God supposed to speak to us, challenge us, bruise us, so that we can learn to have this character if we get to have everything that we want? And as soon as we hear no, or as soon as this isn't like the way that we want it to be, we just shut down. And then we have very poor, what do you call it, systems to coping mechanisms. And our children are growing with very poor coping mechanisms. I mean, I see some young people, and I am so sad, because anything that comes along, it just tears them apart, because they cannot cope. They're already so used to having everything at their fingertips, you know, being entertained at their fingertips, creating the world that they want to have at their fingertips. And so it's kind of, it was funny when you mentioned it, but the implications are so much scarier, you know, that he's not even interested in a girlfriend the first time you take them to maybe one of these Sub-Zero places, or you have ice cream together. Like, he's never going to have those experiences, because his mind is not open.
And you find out that these younger, the younger generation coming up, they are, their speech are less. They are so shy and limited, because they're not being exposed to having real conversations. Because texting conversation is not real conversation. That's just that it lacks emotion, it lacks connection, and it lacks a whole lot of things.
It's scary, because they're creating some of these things in terms of emotions. If you want to be angry or sound serious, you use capital letters. Like, they're finding ways to create some kind of realness, even to this type of communication, which is why we have to be so vigilant against what's happening, and how, you know, to teach our children and to be vigilant ourselves as adults, because like you said, it lacks so many things, but it's also replacing so many things. Like, we have no patience or tolerance for a real conversation anymore. As soon as it starts to get boring, I'm talking to you, and like, you kind of bore me. Like, I just want to stop. Like, you know what? I don't want to hate you no more. Like, that's it.
And that brings me to the thought where the instant gratification using social media, that's where we have a problem talking to God. Because now when we're talking to God and we ask him for something and we don't get that instant gratification, as in him giving us it as we ask for it, like it would if we go in Amazon, find what we want, add it to the cart, and have it shipped off, and we get it right away. When we don't get a response from God like that, we walk away and say, I don't know what kind of God we deserve, or who that God, because in his word, he said that he will ask and it will be given to us. But now
And
I'm
you're
asking,
waiting
I'm waiting, and it's not happening.
Right.
And so we lose faith and hope
Correct.
because it's not that
God does not work like the
right.
social media vending machine.
Right. Or the whole addiction work as you're ready for that whatever stimuli that you need, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever it is, if you're not getting it now.
You know, and there's a time concept that we know we're addicted. I think you
Right.
mentioned it in our previous conversation. The amount of time you spend on something shows how much you worship it, or so much
Consistency.
right. So
Right.
much. I think you said 10%. If you
Yes, 10%.
right.
And I use that because of the way we tithe. Because if you tithe 10% of your day to a social media, then that's what we're serving.
Right.
And I remember reading, it took me back to this book that I read, Gods at War.
Okay.
And what he was trying to do was to, once you're reading the book, there's paragraphs where he would say, okay, at this time, please make sure that your cell phone is off or turned on silent or whatever it is. Because what he's trying to do is to get you in a mind frame where you're going to be concentrating on something else rather than your social media.
Correct.
And in the book, it says that anything you're competing with becomes your God. I mean, one of the commandments says that thou shalt not have no other God before me.
Yeah.
And so if 10% of your time is on your phone or on your social media, then what is your God? It doesn't mean that it has to be a statue
Right.
or something that you create or build up. But this thing becomes an altar for us because we are bowing down to it, because you're never looking at your social media like this. How are you looking at it? You're looking at it this way.
And you mentioned something so critical, you know, anything that takes up more than 10%, 10% or more of our time is a real indication of what it is, who it is that we're worshiping. And you know, some of the statistics show that young people spend up to 9 hours a day
Right.
on social media or more. Like that's a limit. You spend at least 9 hours out of 24 hours for the day, either on your tablet, on your phone, on your computer. And that's alarming. You know, I think that as Christians, we need to have safeguards for
Right.
ourselves and for our children, because if we're not able to give God 9 hours of our day, what is it that we're doing on our phones for
And
9 hours?
if we would tithe our day, the 24 hours, you would get at least 2 hours and a half, almost 3 hours, as a portion that you give to God.
And if we were to reverse it and challenge ourselves, and I'm going to challenge you to spend only 2 hours out of your 24 hours on social media, because that's the time that we give to God.
Right.
That's the time that we give to God, 2 hours a day or less. So challenge yourself to reverse it. Give yourself 2 hours on your social media, like for entertainment,
Right.
to watch your game, to do your different things, and you will see how different your day becomes, how much more open you are to be able to see where God wants to lead you, to this person, to this activity, to this new experience. It's going to be such an interesting experience.
There is this guy that I was listening to his he's a YouTuber, and he said, okay, today I am going to take a 7 days detox from social media. I said, okay, that's I mean, people do it where they will deactivate their stuff and then stay off it for a minute, then jump on back. But what he did was to eliminate anything that has to do with his phone that is not work related,
correct.
because you have to work.
Yeah.
So he got rid of the music, he got rid of social media, TV, everything. The first day he struggled because at night was when he spent majority of his time on his phone doing things. Watching TikTok videos, you know, and while he was working, he would be watching other content creators. So
Okay.
instead of creating the content, he was watching the content.
Yeah.
And then he realized that, man, he got so much done that day, but he became very bored because he didn't have something that was occupying his time. But what happened throughout the day as he was, gradually progressing through the 7 days, he realized that he watched people have run.
Right.
Here, he watched people go running.
Yeah, it's just
And then
simple things.
then instead of running himself, he would watch people being on vacation. When last have you even watched the sun rise and the
Exactly,
sunset?
and that is a miracle right before our eyes.
And so we're getting we're watching people do these things and say, wow, that is so beautiful when the sun is there for me and you.
And
Going up and coming down.
We're living these sedentary lifestyles. There's this game. I don't know what it is. I have to go and investigate it properly. But I see the little children watching it. It's a game where you watch somebody else play a game. I don't know what it is, but I was so disturbed. I said, no, this is nonsense. When I was a child growing up and we had to play games, we were excited, but we were a part of the game. Now
Right.
it's so bad that the children are excited to watch other children play this game. And it's ridiculous that we're
Roadblocks.
I think so.
Roadblocks.
Right?
I remember.
don't
Yes,
know
it's
what
roadblocks.
about, but that disturbs me so much. If your child watches it, I haven't really watched it to know what's wrong with it, but it disturbs me because I would much rather my child, even if they're on the device, at least play the game. Don't watch somebody else play it. How can that be satisfying?
Right.
You know?
But there are other YouTube videos where children are playing with blocks and Legos, and children are actually watching these children play with blocks and Legos. We're allowing our child to have a child become a millionaire watching just by watching
their
them
content.
instead of us allowing our children to become these millionaires
Right.
by allowing them to be playing with these things while other children.
It's a matter of balance, and we will. If it sounds like we're bashing social media, we will get to the good parts, right? But we have to take a break at this moment, so we'll be right back. Remember, we're talking about the effects of social media. So if you have questions, if you want to make a comment and say, no, Miss Tracy, or no, Miss Aislinn, this is not so and so, leave it in the comments, right? And we'll get back to you. But we'll be right back after a break.
Really understand our youth and the challenges they face?
Are we truly listening to what they're saying or even care about how they feel?
Youth Come Alive is a new and innovative program where we discuss issues that matter, such as spirituality, sexuality, relationships, addictions, careers, and so much more.
Join us on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on all our streaming platforms.
Youth Come Alive, a program for youth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Elardo Davis.
I'm Pastor Denny McCullough.
We are the hosts of your Bible study series, Words of Wisdom. In 2 Timothy 3:16, God reminds us that all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof,
For correction and for instruction in righteousness.
Words of Wisdom is a specially designed program brought to you by ATN in an effort to share the Advent message to our friends and faithful viewers who are yearning to build a growing and saving relationship with Jesus Christ. If you want to learn more about our rich Adventist heritage, basic fundamental beliefs, counsel on courtship and marriage,
Or simply a deeper study of God's written word, then join us Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. on our Facebook and YouTube pages, as well as Channel 98 on Central TV. Join in and be a part of this special Bible studies effort by praying that God continues to lead and bless this ministry, by becoming a faithful viewer and inviting your friends and family to like and share our programs, by your kind donations and of course, your generous financial contributions. contact us at 416139351 or send us an email at atn@cbm.belizeunion.org. We are located at 10 3/4 miles Philip Golson Highway. Thank you for being a part of the ATN ministry. It is our prayer that you will keep the book of the law always on your lips.
Meditate on it day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to that which is written therein. Then thou shalt make thy way prosperous and have good success.
Life comes in different seasons. I embrace change, and while it adds value to my life, I also need some kind of a vision. Like, where am I going? What is my guide? The Bible reassures me. God's word never changes. You know, the rain is gonna hit and feelings and opinions come and go. I mean, we live in an unstable world. God talks to me through his word. It's like a fire that keeps me alive. Here, I can find rest and peace during all uncertainty. Studying the Bible gives me assurance every day.
Welcome back to Defining Your Health. This morning we were discussing the effects of social media, you know, and before we had to take the break, we looked at some of the psychological impacts, you know, of addiction and how that actually works, what happens in the different parts of your brain. And I want somebody this morning, one of our viewers, to name the two areas in our brains that's at work. Sister Ace mentioned it this morning. So I want you to put in the comment section, what are the two areas? The part that takes the picture and the one that stores the picture, right? So let's see who's able to answer, who are paying attention this morning, right? Sister Ace, when we stopped just now before the break, we were talking about, you know, living these sedentary lifestyles, sitting down and watching people live their lives on social media, you know. And I wanted to introduce this concept that I read about, FOMO, FOMO. Like, it's this thing where researchers are talking about this effect that it's having on social media users, this fear of missing out, you know, and some of the ways that that can affect us as people using social media websites. We have, it's a fear, but there are certain ways that we manifest this fear that we're missing out. We can't go without our phones. Like, you forget your phone in the morning, and you have to absolutely, you have to get it back. You have to go back for it, or you cannot absolutely wait. What comments do you have on this concept that they've introduced?
So what happened is that what you realize when you would go on a vacation or going somewhere, anywhere, you are not focused on where you're going, but you're focused on taking pictures.
That's so true.
For where you're going.
That's so true.
So you miss the moment where you could have opened the window and smell the fresh air of driving. Like, for example, for us, going down the Hummingbird Highway, it's the most beautiful highway in Belize. But when we get on that road, we're not looking at the scene. We're not looking to see the different color contrast in the environment around us. But we are taking our pictures because we want to capture it so that we can tell our Facebook friends or Instagram friends or social media friends on a whole. And that's what happened. And that's how they we have this concept of FOMO, where you get fear to miss out.
And it's ironic because you are literally taking a picture, snapping a moment in time so that you can go back to always have it when you never really experienced it because you were taking a picture.
You miss the moment, and it's intentional moments that we miss because we want to take a picture. You ever realize that the most exciting and the most memorable trips that you take are the ones that you forgot to take a picture?
Yeah, or you forgot your phone entirely. You didn't take it.
And so you get to experience, you get to embrace everything.
I think a large part of it is that we've become addicted to becoming idols ourselves. We want to be worshipped. And social media provides that perfect platform, which is why the concept of getting likes, getting little hearts or whatever it is that's new, because I'm not up to date clearly. You know, that's so addicting because we want to be viewed as being successful. We want to be admired. We want people to see us for who we are, this amazing whatever person we need to be validated from social media, and that's kind of dangerous. You know?
I remember doing an AY with the topic 1,000 likes and no love. Because what happened, we put a image up there, and if we get the likes or the loves or the I care, or some reaction, it raises up the number of people that viewed what you placed. You would not move faster than somebody that didn't get the amount of likes. You know how quick those toddlers run when they take something and they know enough to take it and they run so fast? Nobody move faster than them when the time to take down one picture because it did not receive the amount of likes
that they want. And it's so tied in with this whole issue of having a positive self-image of yourself. You know, and some of the things that we see online, it's really we say it all the time, but it's really not what happens in reality. We see these people with beautiful bodies, shimmering skin, and half the time it's not real. It's not real. And I recently found out that sometimes you don't even have to take surgery to look this kind of way. Sometimes the editing effects, they give you a smoother skin. They give you so many different things, right? I guess the guys here at ATN can fix
it's the filter world. It's the filter world. And everybody wants a good filter, to smoothen up the edges or the dark patches that you don't like to see. I mean, some of it, we don't like to see some of the dark spots. I mean, sometimes the makeup cannot cover it fully, so you want something that will soften it for us. And so we live in this filtered world, but that affects our how do you call what's the word? Self-esteem. That affects our self-esteem because now we're trying to live up to somebody's filtered look.
And the somebody that we're looking up to is of the world. Who should we look like? Who should we want to look like? We should want to look like Christ. We should want to look like love because God is love. But we're so focused on the physical, and it prevents us from truly being real Christians because we are supposed to be satisfied with the way that God makes us. Now, God will tell you to look your best self, to be presentable, but not to the extent that you are trying to look like somebody else you saw. And I think it's important that our young people fully understand this, that we are to look like Christ, and the way Christ looks is very different from the way people dress online, the lengths they go to have certain hair or body types. That's Christ would never ask for us to spend such enormous, extensive amount of time focusing on our bodies because we're worshiping our bodies,
And it brings me to the part of how the social media actually affects us fully. Because we want to have that. We want to have that type of body, that skin, the luxury life. We want all of that. And so what happened, we start looking at ourselves as being incompetent, not worthy of receiving these things. We start crying out to God and say, why did you make me poor? Why did you not give me the money to do what I would so that I could
So
have
true.
live a better life. I mean, God did not entrust us with those money because, we may look just like the people them
Yeah,
outside.
some of us would.
No, and that makes us become more physical beings rather than being the spiritual beings that we should, making a difference in this world, being the example, but we want to blend in and look like the filtered world.
That's right. I love that. You reminded me of a sermon that Pastor Jeremy Cano had preached one time, and he mentioned that we want to be like the world. Everybody wants to get rich or die trying. And Christ literally told us in his word that I have called you to set you apart, and so we just really have to be careful about what it is that we desire, and I wanted to mention that I know we're focusing on some of the negatives and maybe we missed some, and you can share in the comments below maybe something that we didn't miss, but we want to dwell now on the positive effects and the uses of social media. When it comes to learning, for example, what are some of the positive effects of being on social media platforms and having access to it?
Well, you have different learning videos. If you're struggling math,
Right.
there's plenty
At your
people up there
fingertips.
to teach you a different way so that you may be able to understand how to do that. There different type of therapy that you can go to if, say, you want to better your speech. I mean, there are different things that could teach you.
And the one thing, apart from learning, we don't spend most of our time learning on social
Right.
media, unfortunately, but that comes from the desire, what it is we desire. But the very purpose of social media was connectivity, for
Right.
us to be able to relate to each other across distance, across space and time. And that's the one thing that we're not maximizing our ability to do. We're focused on showing the world who we are without actually connecting to anyone. We use Facebook, Instagram to talk to our loved
Right.
ones, and a lot of time people don't want a conversation. Like, they will legit tell you that don't call me for something you can message me about.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be on the phone talking to anybody. And so what some of the positive things is that use social media for one of its first intended use, to connect to people, with your family and things like that, right?
First, it's not like the Stone Age where we used to have to wait for those letters to come in to
Who
see.
writes letters anymore?
Or those emails,
Postcards,
those
yeah.
postcards. But now we have, because technology is advancing, and it's
Yeah,
advancing
rapidly.
pretty rapidly. And so now we have we can just get to video chat with our families that lives across overseas, and but instead now we are just probably messaging them. If they post something online, then
Yeah,
you get to
and-
see what they post. But everything was okay, let me face or video call my family member. Now it's, if they post something, then I'll
Then
see
you
what
comment, but there's
what
no
they'll see, what they'll
conversation.
do.
When you go to the actual message section, no real message in there checking
Right.
up. But I commented on your picture, but that's not the same as having a real conversation. So I want to challenge you to go back, have real conversations, check in and check up on people, right? And one of the other good things I find with social media is that it's a great platform for awareness, to mobilize people about certain topics.
Right.
Some of the things, I think there was a case recently, I can't remember it, but we would have never known that this issue happened if this person didn't go online. It was about the police officer. Anyways, I can't remember right now, but because she was able to go on her Facebook and talk about it, a lot of people were like, no, that's wrong, and we need to do something about
Right.
this. And other people commented, other people shared, and because it became a thing, the police station department had to look at the issue, and they're making changes towards it now. Right?
Right.
So those are some of the positive things we can do online. I'm not sure if you have.
Human trafficking, you have human
Right.
trafficking. There are different signs now people are using or trying to, there are different things that people are trying to do to get you aware that, hey, I'm being kidnapped, or I'm
Correct,
being,
correct.
there are different hacks and ways that people are coming up. So it's very, the internet is it's the new education system.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
because you don't have to sit in a classroom to figure out how to operate a machine. You can go right on YouTube and it's there. They will take you step by step. So it's very innovative to be on YouTube or any other social media because people are teaching you other things.
You know, and when we talk about teach, we still have to balance it and be careful about how we're being taught, because I
Right.
know that some parents are really progressive. They know the dangers of social media,
Right.
and they want their children to have tablet time, but to also watch things that are constructive. But there are things that we need to look at. I think you mentioned there's recent research on a particular
Yes,
program.
right. Because sometimes there was, and how I found out about it was this lady complaining on TikTok. She was,
Okay.
I mean, I was on TikTok.
I was
See?
just about to tell you, but
I was on TikTok and the lady started to complain
fantastic.
because she realized that her son was very he could have talked. He talked well and he was advancing in his speech and whatever, and she realized that after she put the child on, introduced him to the program, because she said, "Oh, this looked very interesting for the child to watch,"
educational.
and put the child on. The child started watching. The child started to regress from the speech. So instead of the child was advancing, they start regressing, and so. And it's because too, from the constant rotation of the screen,
the images,
the
like, just
image are
shifting,
constantly
like,
shifting, and so the child didn't get a moment to reflect on that particular
always
angle.
something
There's
new.
always a movement, and this also bring me back to what we were talking earlier. Multitasking was never something that our brain could have handled.
Okay, not to the extent that
Not to the extent that we are doing it at this point, but we realize that now when you're eating, what do? We put our phone on our juice, put the phone on the juice and then we're scrolling as we're
same time.
eating, and we forget how the food actually tastes. We forget the taste. We don't even know the full flavor of what is in our food because our mind is distracted with the time that we're spending on the screen.
We're not paying attention.
We're not paying
to
attention.
The real, the live, the everyday moment
Right.
experience, finding appreciation in just having food. Like everything is becoming dim and pale in light of social
Right.
media. It's not as satisfying anymore. And I cannot stand this word when children, this boring. If they're
Right.
not on their tablet or on a phone, and we give in to them a lot of times because it's easier. It's easier to just give them, and you know what, be quiet and just put them in a corner. But we have to pay attention because they are the educational programs, and then there are programs that actually reduce their capacity to learn because of the way that you said the images and how quick and they lose their attention and things like that. So it's just a matter of being careful, one of the things that I find interesting is the way that it affects the brain in terms of just the lighting, screen time. I think the research that shows that the light that emanates from the screen is what causes you to stay up. Your brain is active and you can't fall asleep.
What happened is the light is there to stimulate your brain. So if your brain is being stimulated at this point in time when you're supposed to be sleeping, then you will not fall asleep again.
Right. And the more you have it on, the less likely you are to fall asleep because you're not telling your brain, it's not getting the message that you want to fall asleep because you're still watching something, you're still being engaged in something. So interesting what engages us online versus real life, because I find at the point where I was watching this series, as I mentioned, that I don't even want to hear anything educational. As soon as I'm scrolling and they're talking about something meaningful or news, I just scroll past that.
That's the thing, right?
I just want to be entertained. And that becomes most of what our mind is stayed and focused on, just pure entertainment. And anything outside of that is boring. We're not developing our minds, our characters.
My question to the children at camp, the young people at camp was, how many 15 seconds Bible text can you read because we be scrolling through plenty, 3 hours worth of 15-second video.
That's true. That's true. Man, I still remember when they used to have vines. Like that's not even a word they use anymore, right? But you mentioned something that we didn't really we didn't get to really touch on it. We spoke about the psychological effects, how we need to be careful. There's the good, there's the bad, but the potential for the bad, just as much as we can promote certain events and empower people, social media has become a huge platform for bullying,
Right.
and we've still yet to establish how to tackle this problem online of slandering, of defamation. So I don't know if you have anything to share as it relates to like cyberbullying.
When I would just say, because I remember teaching this class in life skill, teaching the life skills to the students about think before you post, and it had this the acronym. I don't think I remember it fully, but it said T for think is it. In fact, you know what? I won't even try to go through to remember.
But you think, you
think, is it educational?
Right.
Is it
thoughtful?
Thoughtful? Are you being effective in posting this? Is it going to help somebody else? And it's just a bunch of things that you should think about before you post what you're posting, because you screenshotting something that is wrong, that is negative
to somebody
you
else.
are now a carrier of bad news. You're encouraging this bad behavior of whatever negative is up there.
And if you're sharing, because there's this concept online of sharing certain thing, and if you go back on your page, man, I'm still on Facebook. Instagram don't have no page. TikTok don't have no page. I mean, if you go back to look at what you post on whatever platform, is it positive? Is it biblical? Is it spiritual?
Right.
Go and look at it. Is it slandering to somebody else? The first thing that comes to my mind recently is this whole KTV karaoke thing that's online, and there's so much negative comments. And for us, we're in this culture where everything is funny. I'm laughing because I'm still remembering some of the comments that are kind of PG, but some of them are really rude. And I can't imagine if I was online and I was the target. Like, it's so painful. Like,
and coming to that, I won't even lie, because when I saw the comments, I'm like, no, sir. My friends, they have to see this craziness that we're
sharing, and you become
then I
a part of
screenshot
that.
it and I show that, then they start to laugh. But the thing was so funny,
and we're not drawing the correct lines anymore.
Right.
Even as Christians, we're participating in so many negative things online, and we're not quick to share. Look at this post that ATN did, and we just share that, and we're not laugh and giggle about that, but we're laughing at somebody else's expense. So we really have to reflect and watch what we're doing, And when we mention ATN, we can't talk about this topic without actually saying that we're using social media platform for positive purposes. We have our programs, and I don't know if you want to do a little shout out and a little promotion for the youth.
Of
the
course,
youth program.
I have to bring that in, because the youth program, Youth Come Alive, we are live every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, and it is an unscripted.
Love that.
Yes, it's unscripted, and it's for youths and done by youths, and our viewers are going up. The comments are very active. And
what do you talk about on this program?
Well, we are in our second season, and this season we're talking about love. We're talking about relationships. So we're diving in on Tuesday. On the last episodes, that was I was about to say. The last episode, we talked about singleness, and everybody was.
I see you're still smiling about this topic,
because it was a lot. It was a lot to unfold, and to get into and to dive into. But the main thing was people feel like singleness is a trap, it's a prison, and it's not, instead of a blessing, that before you reach to that point where you can get intertwined with somebody else.
And it goes back to what we're seeing, that singleness is so negative because everybody's posting pictures with their partner, and they're dancing and they're doing this and they're on some beach somewhere, and you feel like you are missing out. So all of it comes full circle back to the same thing.
You get bombarded with the things that, yes, you desire, but it's so constantly passing your mind that you start feeling that you're being left out.
Right. You know, Sister Aisling, I love this topic, the effects of social media. You know, I think we touched on a lot this morning, and we just want to invite our viewers to continue to share with us on this platform. This is what you should be engaged in on social media. You know, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. I think we do a couple clips on TikTok as well. I see some promotion on TikTok. But I want to encourage you to spend your time wisely. Reflect and look back on how am I using social media. Manage the time that you're using. There are certain apps that you can get. I don't remember the name of it, but there's an app that tracks as soon as you're not on social media. It starts counting the time and it rewards you for how long you're not on social media. Even YouTube has this history where you can see what you watch, how long you spent watching it, and certain things like that. So really make a dedicated effort to see where your time is going. It's a gift from God every day, and what are you using it for? You know. So Ms. Aisling, before we close off, we're just winding down at this time. Do you have any closing thoughts related to, you know, the impact of social media, positive or negative?
I would say use social media to create a difference, make a change, be the change the world you would want the world to see. Tide your time wisely. Tide your time wisely, because the same way we would like for God to answer our prayers, but we need to spend more time actually praying, because bowing down to the device is not bringing that, giving you that,
and it's not giving God honor or glory.
Right, and jumping out of your bed and saying, Lord, thank you for this day, amen. That is not even a percentage, maybe a 0.0001.
Doesn't count because we only do it out of obligation. Doesn't count at all.
And so we need to spend our time as much. If you spending 2 hours on the internet, you spend as equal. I mean, I would say less, but make sure your time with God matches goes over. You need to bum rush those happy hormones with replace them. Get addicted to Jesus, and we'll see the effects of what He can do and will do through us and for us.
Lovely. We are changed by what we behold.
Right.
So we need to behold more Christ-related content. We need to actually go back to our Bibles, you know. And I just want to share with you this instance where I have my niece and we're going to church, and she refuses to take her Bible because she has a phone, and she says the phone has the Bible. And I'm like, well, don't take the purse, because you're taking the purse to put the phone in, but the purse that you're taking is supposed to be where you put the Bible in, you know. You are going to church. You're not going to have lunch. We lose sight of purpose anymore. I'm going to church, and the purpose of a bag is to take the things I need. If you're not going to take your Bible, then what are you taking in your purse? You know, different little things that make no sense related to worship at all.
The app is on the phone.
Well, I know we can say that, right? But if you don't even want to bring the Bible to church because you have your phone, that's saying something.
Right.
You know, we're changed by what we behold. So this morning, thank you for joining us here on Defining Your Health. You've been an amazing audience, and we'll see you again next week with another interesting topic.
As a non-profit organization, the Adventist Television Network solely relies on your financial support. By partnering with us through a monthly donation, you will help us to continue to fulfill the mission in taking the gospel into all the world. For more information, please call 613-9351 or email us at atnfin@cbm.belizeunion.org. Thank you for your prayers and support of the ATN ministry, and together we may hasten the soon coming of our Lord Jesus Christ.